Hello once again, this is Brother Teacher, and the subject of this video is already controversial, and it's not going to be any less controversial with me speaking on it, but it needs to be said to those who actually are true to martial arts and those people that really love martial arts, and many of those who have grown up with martial arts traditionally and who respect it. And the subject concerns today's mixed martial arts. And this is a subject that's very close to my heart, martial arts, because I've been doing it over 2/3 of my life. And a lot of the guys that you see today in mixed martial arts, they're new. They're brand new. I don't care if they've been in the MMA for 10 or 15 years, the UFC and so forth. That doesn't matter. I'm old school. I'm like Ron Van Cleef. I'm like Bill Wallace. I'm like Bruce Lee. I'm like Chuck Norris. I'm like Victor Moore, Joe Louis, Thomas the Puppet, Moses Powell, Ed Brown Jr., Anthony Price, Billy Blanks, even. And the list just goes on. Mike Stone. I'm like all of those guys. I came up during the 60s and 70s. In my lifetime, that is, but I'm a 70s, 80s martial arts practitioner and master. I've been doing it for that many years. These guys, a lot of them come around in the 80s and the 90s, and some of them just even more recently in the early 2000s and so forth. And all of a sudden, they're overnight wonders. And oftentimes they exclude and just completely forget about people who have time in the martial arts, who actually have devoted their lives to the martial arts. So let me get on to what my real premise is about this video, and that is the mixed martial arts. I studied mixed martial arts back in the 70s all the way up into this present day. What is real mixed martial arts? Now, when you say mixed martial arts, during my day, we're talking about a conglomeration or a plethora of various arts that were practiced, trained in, and taught, where they were street applicable, and not just something that you labeled as mixed martial arts, and it was just for aesthetic purposes only. In other words, it was not just eye candy, not just something that you was looking at because it was appealing to the eye, and it had very little to do with ego. Even though people still have ego problems, they had ego problems back then, and even though people still have ego problems today, they have them even more. So, what are you really saying, Brother Teacher? I'm saying today's mixed martial arts is mixed up. It's not about martial arts. It's about using martial arts to get to a certain plateau in life, and it's all selfish. I don't really want to put or point a finger at a certain individual and start throwing a shade at anyone, but I'm just shooting from the hip, telling you the way that it really is, and because it really is that way. Case in point, I just saw a couple UFC or mixed martial arts fights the other night, and as always, they were very displeasing to me. Displeasing from the standpoint that, first of all, I didn't see respect for the art. I saw Joe Rogan, a man who's been paid very well to be an announcer for the UFC and for mixed martial arts. We know his claim to fame was stand-up comedy and then Fear Factor and so forth. But he's been doing the mixed martial arts commentary for many years now. But he gets paid very, very well for doing that. Do you think Joe Rogan is in it for the martial arts, or is he in it for Joe Rogan? I choose the latter. He's in it for the money and for the prestige and for the position that he has. Now, I'm no one. I'm just an average Joe. I'm just a common man speaking, I hope, to common people out there, both in just the general audience and also in the martial arts. Joe Rogan is in it for himself. So is the promoter of the mixed martial arts fame, if you will, Dana White, UFC. Dana White's in it for the money. Dana White could care less about real martial arts. Now, Dana White actually found a niche where he could find himself in a position where he could actually grow as a businessman, and martial arts is the platform that he uses to make his millions and millions of dollars. And when you have money, you eventually have power. It's really that plain and simple, ladies and gentlemen. So, trying to hit the nail on the head here as far as the subject is concerned, what I see in the MMA today is a bunch of guys that are there for self. They're trying to make a name for themselves, and they're doing it by using their bodies. Some of them are very, very talented martial arts practitioners, and with that said, some of them are very misguided as it relates to martial arts. Now, if I was to draw a circle and make a pie, and I use that as a percentage, I would say that 75 or 80% of the people in the MMA today are very narcissistic, egotistical, and very disrespectful to the martial arts. That other 20-25%, those are the guys that I take my hat off to, that still do show respect and honor to the martial arts. Now, what do I mean by that? The guys that are in MMA today, for the most part, the majority of them, and the vast majority of them, you see them come into the ring, you see them go through the protocol, bowing to the other person, and then they begin to do what they're doing, from stand up to the ground, fighting and so forth. And you see one or the other or both pummeling each other to a bloody mess on the floor legally. Okay? That's the first flag. Is that what martial arts is about? Is it about seeing who's the biggest, the best, and the baddest, and how much you can beat up on the other guy, how much you can beat that other individual into a bloody pulp, or hospitalize that individual so that you can get a trophy or a belt and a nice money purse and make money for the promoter on top of that? You see what I'm saying? It's about self, and it's selfish. It's not about promoting martial arts. It is about going under the guise of using martial arts as a promotion for you, the promoter, you, the director, you, the owner of that company. It's for that individual. And he's giving the people who are serving him, that's the competitors, he's giving them a money purse, which is an incentive to want to fight. It is an incentive to want to go to the gym and train, to go to the Gracie Brothers or somebody's jiu-jitsu school or some House of Pain or some tap out school or whatever the fancy names they choose to use, to train hard for the next fight, the next couple of fights, the next couple of years and so forth, so they can be the proclaimed champion. But my question as it relates to all of that is this: what has any of these individuals ever done for the martial arts in general? Have these individuals ever opened up a school where they taught people self-defense? Where they had families come in who had been terrorized by a bully, or had a woman come into their school who has been raped or attempted to be raped, or had someone come into their school, or several someones come into their schools who was being bullied on, or who had been accosted or mugged? Do any of these individuals that I was talking about in general have schools where they actually are training the general public on how to protect themselves. 99.9% of them do not. You know why? Because what they're doing is for them. I don't care how many schools they say they have, how many training camps they say they have. And you can check me. You can fact check me on this right now, and you probably already know without even fact checking me. All of these jiu-jitsu camps, all of these Gracie camps, all of these MMA camps are all about the next fight, getting those individuals ready to fight in the next competition so they can do what? Show their wares, so that they can go there and show how tough they are. I don't care if you give to a charity. That's immaterial. I don't care if you sing the national anthem. That's irrelevant. I don't care if you are the spokesperson for breast cancer. That doesn't matter. All of that stuff is just for publicity. But behind the scenes, the real core of who you are as an individual mixed martial artist is all about yourself. It's all about promoting you as being a brand, as it were. I'm trying my very best not to mention people's names, but all of these individuals, or the vast majority, as I said before, of these individuals are in it for the money. Are you telling me that Ronda Rousey, for example, female mixed martial artist who started out in judo and then she went to the UFC with Dana White and so forth, are you telling me that she truly cares about teaching people self-defense? Ronda Rousey, if you watch her tales of her tapes, as it were, she's always talking about who she could beat and that she was the best, until the one girl whooped her about a year ago. Of course, she got whipped after that by somebody else. But anyway, it was all about Ronda and how tough she was, and that she was the best female martial artist in that particular arena, mixed martial arts. But we found out that she wasn't. But that's neither here nor there. But my point is that these people are all out there trying to make this. And they're using martial arts as the vehicle to do that. So that's really pretty much what mixed martial arts has ended up being in the past 20 years or so. All about self. Now, if there's someone out there who can show me a list, you don't have to be expansive, maybe 5 schools, credited schools of some martial artist that's gone through the mixed martial arts, the UFC thing with Dana White and so forth, that actually has a school or more where they're actually a traditional school teaching people how to protect themselves, as opposed to having a camp or a school that's only trying to train champions for the next fight, for the future. I would like to know what those schools are. You're not going to find very many of them. And if you do find some, or if you can list some, if you be so kind to do that, if you can list some, they would be the ones in the 20-25% that I spoke of, perhaps. But the vast majority of mixed martial artists that are out there right now, I see the guys, when they win against another person, they shout a whole lot of expletives. They're cursing. A lot of times they're bragging. They're talking about how much they're gonna break somebody up in the ring. Do real martial artists do that, ladies and gentlemen? No, they don't. Real martial artists are really humble. The vast majority of real martial artists, you'll never see them broadcast themselves in the public like that. When I was young coming up, I never will forget this. We were told, we were taught that most people shouldn't even know that you study martial arts when you're walking on the street. When you go to school elementary, junior high school, college, most people shouldn't even know that you study martial arts. The only way that someone would really know that you study martial arts is that someone close to you would probably tell them, or they would probably see you in a local competition, or may even see you in the newspaper or on television in a competition or whatever. But to go out there to try to show someone that you're the baddest thing on the block, and you're bragging and you have tattoos all over your body and piercings and your hair cut a certain way, and that you pumped up in the gym and that you have the best ground game in the world, is that martial arts, ladies and gentlemen? It's not. That's not martial arts. That's something else. Are they using legitimate martial arts techniques? Of course they are. You can train someone off the street to throw a roundhouse kick, or a round kick, we call it. You can train someone in the street how to do Juji or a straight arm lock. And if they've done it enough times, it will begin to work for them if you give them some insight and some proper instruction. They don't have to be, someone who has 20, 30 years experience. But that is what's happened. You've gotten a lot of guys who have never spent a lifetime, or even the majority of their lifetime, really studying and training and teaching actual martial arts. They've just picked up what's good enough for this particular arena we call the cage or the octagon. They picked up just enough and they perfected that for themselves so that they can beat that other person. And the other person is doing the same thing. Let me become really good at octagon fighting. Let me become really, really good at fighting in the cage. And we do this over and over daily until we're exhausted. And then we meet one another in this public forum where the promoter's making millions of dollars or hundreds of thousands of dollars. And then you get a money purse if you win, or if you're the runner-up or whatever the case is. That's not martial arts. Having to mop up someone's blood off the mat during a public display is really sinister. That's really sinful. It's not necessary. That has never been the intent of martial arts. Never. But apparently, it has become the norm with martial arts as far as the MMA is concerned, and so much so that traditional martial arts and even boxing has taken the back seat to MMA of today, to the MMA of today. The actual traditional martial arts and even boxing has taken the back seat because it's more entertaining to see someone beat someone into oblivion inside of a ring. And then you have these people paying these high ticket prices and pay-per-view on cable to watch this madness. And it's all about self. It's not about martial arts. And when it's about self, you have lost humility. I don't think you even know what being humble is. And excuse me, I said I don't think. I know you don't know what being humble is when it's all about you. Now, I was taught this a long time ago as well before I part. What you take to your grave, the things that you do for yourself, in other words, you take to your grave. The things that you do for others, you leave it behind. So my question to you today is, are you doing things only for yourself? So that when you die, it dies with you? Or are you doing it for others so that when you die, you leave it behind? Now, a lot of people can say that's tricky, what you just said, brother teacher. Not necessarily. I'm talking about things of value, not perceived value. There's sometimes people say, well, I'm leaving the legacy that I was the heavyweight champion in kickboxing, or I was the fastest kicker in the world. I'm leaving that behind. No, you're not. No. You should be leaving something much more valuable behind that can be perpetuated by your students or by your family for generation to come and generation to come thereafter. It shouldn't be about you and the fact that they have your past awards and your past accolades hanging on the wall. It's still about you. I'm talking about what's for them. For example, if I teach my son how to operate a business, and when I die, he continues to operate a business and he's making money, I've left something good behind because I've ensured that he has a steady income for the rest of his life. And then his children after him, he teaches them the same thing. Now, you can say, well, we've got the best kickboxing gym, in Southern California, so we're going to leave that to my son. And so when he has his children, then, we're going to pass the kickboxing gym. No, you haven't done anything for people then. You're still talking about yourself. That's it. I hope that you understand what I'm trying to get at and what I've tried to tell you in this video. And again, I'm going to summarize it again. MMA is not about you. MMA should be about the students. It should be about people. It should not be about how big you are of a star, how much money you have made, how many low budget and how many major motion pictures you can appear in, or how many cameos that you can appear in on a TV show. It's not about that. It's not about you being in a Budweiser commercial or you representing Hanes underwear. That's not what it's about, ladies and gentlemen. It's about integrity. And what's crazy is that many of these guys and gals say that they have humility. They say that they have integrity. But do they really? Do they really even understand what it is? Are they just saying it because it sounds good, or are they just living it? Which one is it? I'm out. This is Brother Teacher. See you in the next video. So long.